All right, what's up, guys? So, episode 5 of the Physically Offensive podcast. My co host, Brian Johnson. We're going to get into some of my blood work, what I've been up to lately with my cycle and training, and my cycle going forward. So, it's been a couple weeks since Brian and I talked. We actually had corporeal nutrition on last week, but we didn't really talk about what Tampa was like for him. So, he did a podcast with Phil Viz. You guys should check that out. Maybe we can link that over here somewhere. And but I want to hear about his experience seeing, the big guys, the mass monsters in person, their conditioning, their presentation. So we're gonna get into it. How was Tampa?
Yeah, man, it was pretty good. Nick was just a freak. He dominated clearly. What's his name? Hollenshed, pretty peeled to the bone, but didn't have the separation, the quality that Nick had. And then Joe really just didn't deliver. His condition was a bit off. You could see in the detail in the separation. It's like he got too heavy, I believe. He needs to sit there at a lower weight and marinate, kind of like Nick's done for the years, and
Was
really
he better?
refine that.
Was he better last year when he was going against Jordan? Because I know he's had a lot of extra mass. Did it just not show up this year the way it did last
It
year? Or
it didn't translate. Like it didn't translate into his legs. His midsection may have grown a little bit. Obviously, with conditioning, that didn't help it. He didn't really get better per se. He grew, but
yeah,
mostly in the upper body, and it's
okay.
not like the upper body's dwarfing the legs. It's not a better look for him.
Yeah, that's what he said. He did Atlanta, and then he got 3rd in Atlanta as well, but then he said he wasn't gonna do Texas just because he thought, "What am I doing? I wanna go back to the drawing board," and he specifically said that his legs were, undersized compared to his upper body, so
Yeah.
that might be a good. He also said he's not gonna get to be Fat Joe again. He's gonna,
Mm,
keep it a little bit tighter, maybe just try to refine. He's so big, he doesn't need more mass. He just needs to almost like dial in and almost like sculpt a little bit more, which I know
exactly
that
that.
sounds kind of a little bit woo woo for bodybuilding, but he's 300 in the off season, probably 265 on stage, 270 maybe even. So he just needs to almost like pull back and like, yeah, maybe pull back some of his resources of bodybuilding in the upper body and put it towards the lower, like maybe do 2
Mm,
a week on legs, or maybe make a different split where it's like quads on one day, hams on another, it's just so that it like almost more recovery resources for those body parts.
yeah, I could see him honestly like pulling back the upper body entirely for a bit. Like once, twice a week, and like running a wellness program, really giving that
Yeah,
attention to the
yeah,
legs, and then focus on the area of the legs this week, the sweep. Create that X frame instead of just giving everything love.
yeah. Which I think in a sense that's what I need to do as well because
Mm,
my knock on my physique, I felt like I was pretty balanced, but I do think at the end there, my legs got a little bit behind my upper body. And I think what happened as well, going into the show, I think I was like pretty balanced, but then me getting sick at 3 weeks out, I stopped lifting heavy right then. Like Phil didn't want me
yeah.
pushing any weight. I remember you came and trained with us, and he stopped me at like 4 plates on that hack squat instead of going up to what I had been prior to that was like maybe 6 plates.
Mm,
And so we were really just trying to conserve for energy for injury, but I think that translated to my legs just getting eaten up at the end when my body was low calories and stuff.
well,
So
that was your biggest emphasis during prep and a little bit in the off season was really trying to bring the legs up and get it to match the upper half. But when it's new
I
muscle
was
like that,
smashing them. I was smashing them too. I was hitting 2 times a week. Wednesdays and Saturdays was leg days, and I had guys, like, loading and unloading for me, and it was really working for sure. But, I think that it was maybe just new mass that
mm,
hadn't, like, solidified, so it came off as fast as it went on,
yeah,
sadly. And then now so I've been off cycle for, I think since about the beginning of July. I did hop right back on after prep, and I, got back on test and primo, and it was like 800 tests, 700 primo, and, I just was not in it. I went about 3
yeah.
weeks, and I could just tell that I hated doing shots. I hated meals, I was just like eating like a post-show newbie. I would like just eat as much food as I could hold and then get sick and then lay down and take a nap and then do it again. I was just not in the mood to bodybuild. So I stopped. I came off the extra gear then and went into just TRT. And I was running this test ISO. It's just like an analog of the Sustanon or
Yeah.
like um but I like that one. And so I was running 100 milligrams of that twice a week. And then I ran that, and I was actually doing really kind of decent, like getting back off prep and then back into normal life. Like I've been, training clients and stuff. So my days have been a lot more busy, but getting in 3 to 4 days a week on training, I was still making progress on strength with just the 200 milligrams a week. So
Did you
uh,
did you feel like ambitious coming out of your prep? Like, did you think you were ready to start a growth phase, or were you kind of like half in, half out with it?
man, I was burned out because I had pushed hard from basically December until June, and like I just put on. I think in December, well, I was just coming off my hair transplant, so I've been off gear completely. They wanted me on nothing,
Yeah.
not even TRT, for a few months, and then I went back on kind of like a low dose of like NPP and I think Ostarine and Anavar, something like that.
Yeah.
Phil had put me on, and I gained back a little bit on that, and then um, I was just really ready to dig in on growing, competing. Miranda moved in with me. She was cooking all my meals, and there's just no reason that I didn't have anything at my access. So I was like really digging, and I was ambitious at that point, and then all through prep, I started just to like lose my desire to like really push just because I was like so uncomfortable,
Mhm.
like food was so low. I was just like constantly like looking at reels and just like food porning, obsessing about it. And so I kind of got over being hungry like that. And then when I came off prep, I wanted to do it, but my body was just not really in a spot. Like I was having I think like a low blood pressure issue. Like anytime I would get dizzy spells and I actually blacked out once. So, but now that my body fat kind of returned, my body fat and my weight returned to normal, I don't have that at all. So I think it was just a low blood pressure issue because I have really normal blood pressure even when I'm in like the 260s.
Yeah.
It'll be like 115 over 80. So, I think just losing 30 pounds, it just got down to be too low for me. I was also playing around with Nebivolol and, uh, just doing all tons of cardio, and we were pulling out all my carbs, so my water was like I was pushing in, like, tons of water, so I was, like, flushing a lot. My electrolytes were, like, really good. So, like, I think I was just, like, low blood pressure, which
Yeah.
I went through with my dad is the reason that I noticed it because he had a similar thing. He was heavy. He always had high blood pressure, and they had him on blood pressure medications. And then he lost a bunch of weight because he's 82, and then he started like blacking out. And then they had to lower his blood pressure medications, so we didn't really figure it out for a couple months. So he was like, just like anytime he'd get up, he'd like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
I
So
figure
that's kind of why.
that could be like a homeostasis thing, right? Your body's acclimated to such heavy weight and whatnot, and your body regulated at that. And then you stay on the blood pressure med or whatever it may be. In your case, the extreme weight loss.
Mhm.
Your body, is not adapted to that. It's used to, having to put, work harder and differently. And then you come down,
Yeah.
it's just still trying to do the same thing it was, but now it's so much lower. But
Well, also, I started taking that Nebivolol, which is a beta blocker.
mhm,
It's a beta blocker that's supposed to slow down your heart rate because I've always had a fast heart rate ever since I was, in high school. I would go to the school nurse or whatever, and they would check it, and it would be like she didn't ever tell me what it was. She would always tell me that it was like high. Anytime I
yeah,
go to
yeah.
a doctor's, they're like, "Oh, it's a little bit high. Like, did you just come from the track or something?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Whatever." So I just remember that. So I think that I would just have like a ish sort of high heart rate. So when I get heavy, it just goes higher. Obviously, that's kind of
Mm,
how it works. So like my resting um, was normally around like 90, 92, 93, and I just feel like I know it's in the normal range because I think like normal is like 60 to 100, but I just feel like that's not the
optimal.
greatest thing because I'm beating, your heart only has so many beats, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I was trying to like do proactive things to figure it out. That's why I added in the Bivol. But ultimately, I think that it lowers my blood pressure too much, especially in that conditions where we were at in
Yeah.
prep. Um,
Yeah, I
Now I
think
still wear my heart rate monitor, but I don't know. I'm just like around that 90 range. So whatever.
something to touch on with you is prep is kind of like a mindset. It doesn't mean, oh, we're adding in cardio and this and that. It's, you're getting into that like season of where you're really locking in and working towards that show. It doesn't have to be putting the cardio in and pulling the food back. It can be growing into it and then coming back down. So
Yeah.
like even though your prep was only 8 or 9 weeks, your prep in reality was much longer. The drugs came up,
Yeah.
the food came up, and then it just dropped down hard. So
Yeah.
there's
We didn't
there's
know that I was gonna compete, but I I basically went out and I trained with Eric Janicki at about 11 weeks out from the Cal, and then I'm looking at him, I'm doing, like, posing, and Phil is like, "Man, like, he's been on prep for a little while now, and you're already kinda, like, sticking right with him, like, we should think about these shows," and then we did at that point talk about doing Tampa and Texas,
mm,
and then a couple weeks later, I don't know exactly what it was, but I just called him. I was sitting in the gym parking lot. I called him, and we just had a chat. It was about 9 weeks out from Cal, and he's like, "Man, I think we could push and do Cal right now." Looking at your check in, and then I was like, "All right, I'll think about it. I'll talk to Miranda." So I came home, spent a couple days, then I called him at about 8.5 weeks out, and I said, like, "Let's fucking run it." So that's kind of all the rest is history after that. So yeah,
yeah.
but I was pushing hard. I was like in the trenches on my bodybuilding. I was like really enjoying it at that point in the off season. Like I was pushing, my meals were all on time, they were all made. I was barely eating out, like everything was just kind of like clicking at that time.
Yeah. And then that runs into burnout, man. Like post show, everyone loves a good rebound, but you really got to assess where's your head at. If you don't have the fight in you, why jump right into a growth phase? Even if the prep wasn't super strenuous, like the drugs weren't high, it wasn't that long, you might
Yeah.
burn out, and then you're not going to grow like that, man. It's just not going to
Yeah. And
happen.
I
So,
think I think that is what happened. Also, I had some kind of like little abdominal adductor strain that I picked up through prep,
mm,
and that was kind of bugging me. I would go to the gym, I would deadlift, I would start getting dizzy deadlifting. I started having this like pressure pain in my abdominal like adductor area. And so then that was just kind of like distracting. So I kept on like going back, trying to get back in the groove, changed up my drugs. I was trying to push the food and everything. And then I just needed the time just to back off, come off cycle, exactly what you're saying, get my
mm,
mindset right where I was hungry to bodybuild again, you
yeah.
know.
If you don't deload, the body will for you. Is it like
Yeah.
a groin hernia kind of feeling?
I don't think hernia. It's like I just have like my adductors are like like constantly tight, like where they
Mm,
connect to the pelvis.
yeah.
It's just like not tight, but like a soreness. Like if I flex them, even if I haven't trained legs in like 10 days, 2 weeks, I like flex them right there where it connects to like your, I guess like right at your taint.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like some kind of like achy, like I had trained them, but
You,
I don't know if it's like a firing pattern is weird or what. But now, I mean, I'm getting back to it. The abdominal thing is not bothering me at all. I just free squatted yesterday. I kind of stayed conservative. I went to 335 on the safety squat bar.
mm,
No abdominal issue. I went to 5 plates on that hack squat at Larry's. No abdominal issue. My adductors aren't even like they don't bother me now. It's like they are sore. It's almost like you go into a workout with sore leg, like a slightly
mhm.
sore leg. That's what it feels like on my adductors, but it doesn't inhibit me. As soon as I get warmed up and get rolling, it doesn't inhibit my ability to lift. It's just like it was like maybe it was an injury. Maybe I'm just like getting better from it because it was like debilitating before. Like before I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is too much. I can't like push through.
You were using that straight. It's like a straight leg adductor, right? It's kind of like the one we have at TG.
Larry's one.
Yeah, your legs like fully extend out and you're leaned back.
Um,
You, uh, uh,
Throughout the leading up to prep, I was training at Larry's and also at Legends, and they have that Panada one. So I was kind of
mhm.
training it. I was training on both of those for adductors,
I
but I was
just
doing a ton of adductor work prior to prep. Phil had me doing like I would hit like quads like a bunch, like the hack squat and the pendulum, and then I would jump to leg press and I would do like single leg just for
yeah.
adductors, my knee like way pushed out, and then my adductors definitely grew a lot. I almost think that maybe I picked up this little thing in my groin from over posing because we posed like bro so much so
Yeah.
hard, like constantly trying to like you know my adductors were not a great connector. I was trying to show them from the back, so I was just like always trying to like get that feeling, and I think
Hmm.
that I just maybe like overposed them, maybe somehow strained them or got a fatigue something in them. So that I think that's kind of what it's related to.
I get that. I've gotten a similar strain from doing the straight leg ones. It's essentially a Copenhagen plank. And when you
Hmm.
accelerate super hard, the muscle just does not tend to like that. You know, it's in such a lengthened position. It can cause a lot of. I don't think the adductor is meant to accelerate. It's you can squeeze it up and really get the function, but when you accelerate it really hard, it puts a tremendous amount of strain on it. Feels like your
Yeah.
gooch is just getting ripped apart.
Yeah, and actually, now that I'm thinking back, it didn't feel similar to this. I actually strained my adductor in prep last time when I was or not last time, but like when I was in my USA's prep at 4
Hmm.
weeks out, I strained it and I had to go from, squatting and everything to all we did is leg extensions and curls, at 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just kind of a ongoing. I haven't had an issue since then. I mean, it healed, took a little while to heal now that I'm remembering. This is not 8, 9 years ago. So, but after it healed up, I was, totally fine and growing them and stuff. So
Absolutely. So now we're moving to a growth phase, huh?
now I'm ready to dig in, move into a growth phase. I feel like my GI is pretty good. I feel like I got to get my head into it a little bit on like my meal timing, just because it's easy for me not to eat. Like
Yeah.
if I'm like training clients and I'm because I'm training clients at two gyms, like I gotta like race home and then I just got done with one. I don't have much time. All right, I'll take a meal. I'll take it with me up to my gym up in Westlake. Maybe between clients, if I have a 30-minute gap, I'll eat. But sometimes I'll have my meal after work, and then I'm like sitting there. I'm like, "Ugh, I'm not really that hungry right now. Maybe I had an energy drink or something, and all that caffeine just suppresses my appetite. So
Yeah.
I need to get more regimented on like if I don't, even if I don't want to eat, just like put in something.
Is it 5 or 6 meals?
I'm more of like a 4 meal guy. Like even when
Oh.
I'm in the off season, like if you Phil tried to get me up to 5 when I was on prep, and it was
Hmm.
like it was a struggle. I
Yes.
basically have to just lower the amounts because I'm like a kind of a not huge meal guy, but like a bigger meal guy. Like I'll do like when I was coming into prep, what basically when I'm not hungry, I'll just start low. Like we have
Hmm.
like chicken that's already barbecued and rice ready. So Miranda will just ask me like, "All right, what do you want this meal?" And I'll be like, "All right." If I'm like trying to build up my appetite, it'll be like 6 protein, 6 carbs ounces, and then like a half an avocado or something like that. And then I'll just
Yeah.
do that every couple hours. So 6 isn't even a big meal at all. Like obviously it's a tiny meal, but then it'll get me on the timing where my GI is like, okay, something's going to come in, it just keeps me moving. And then, the next day or the next week or something like that, I'll move up to like 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 10 and 10. And then like when I'm about the biggest I can do is like 10 and 10, 11 and 11,
Hmm.
just because it's just like a, 22-ounce meal. It's a pretty good size meal.
Yeah.
And then I'll even I'll not just that. When I'm trying to push, I'll add those. There's these drinks. They're called Kerns. It's like not carbonated. It's just fruit juice, but they
Hmm.
use like real cane sugar. So those are 39 grams of carbs each. I'll pound two of those while I'm doing my meal, and
Yeah.
then that'll kind of get my like the sugar will get the salivatory gland rolling, just so that I'm like able to eat the meal, like eat that size meal. So
I think there's a lot to using stuff like that. So when I like you my peak chicken shakes, I put dextrose powder in it, and
Yeah.
that's going to crank your insulin. It's going to help you actually push that meal. So I've noticed when I had that in versus when it's just the rice when the carbs are lower, I don't process it as fast. But having that dextrose, it's going to spike and then help you push that through naturally a little bit more.
Yeah.
And obviously
I mean,
with
it's almost
assistance and
like
some insulin, but
yeah, it's almost like taking an insulin shot, doing
yeah,
doing that
getting that
way.
reactive hypo going. But
Yeah.
I also, for me, I set alarms. I wake up
Yeah.
when I'm having 6 meals. Right now, I'm only doing 5. When I'm having 6, I wake up at 3 o'clock. I have my first meal, then I get up and have my second meal at a specific time. And every day, because your body welcomes it a lot easier when
Yeah.
it's regimented like that. It's just like a non-negotiable. Like I structure like training my clients around my meal times. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
train somebody if I got to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, and I need to just start prioritizing my bodybuilding a little bit more, and that's kinda just me getting into the groove in the trenches that I talk about. When stuff starts kinda, like, rolling, it just starts to really kinda one meal leads into the next, a 10-minute walk, and then the next meal, and then I'm up in the meals, and then before I know it, I'm pushing down 5,500, 6,000 calories, and I'm growing,
Mm.
a pound a day, you know? So
Have you and Phil talked about T3 in the off season?
He's talked about it. He does have me use T4 sometimes when I'm using HGH.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but I don't really like get too deep into it. I know T3 is anabolic at the right dose and like a lower dose, so
Mm.
that might be another pathway. There's androgens, insulin, HGH, and then T3 is a fourth pathway.
Yeah, I talked to him about like when to use T4 and T3 and the combination of it, and he's kind of led me away from it. I don't really see a point to ever use T4 with the ability for it to convert to reverse T3. Why not just give the body what it wants? And towards the end of my last push phase, I was doing like 625 of T3 every morning, and I could immediately tell the difference. The body welcomes the meal. Every process just gets up regularly. I'm shitting more, just clearing the
Mm,
meal much better, and the weight was actually going
protein
up.
turnover is better.
Exactly. So I mean, when you get food that high, it's just like kind of like insulin. You need a little assistance. The body's not going to be able to get it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the theory was when you're using HGH, it somehow suppresses your T4, so people taking it kind of puts in what you may not be making. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna look at my blood work here in a minute, but my thyroid stimulating hormone is like, pretty good,
yeah,
and
yeah,
my free T3. I didn't. So this is a Rhythm Health, the one that I sent, the ones that I sent you. So
yeah,
that one is it doesn't have everything, but it does have that I track it every month,
yeah,
which is kinda nice. It's not super detailed, but I am really keeping an eye on all my lipids and all my stuff on monthly basis, which I think is like, you know, maybe it doesn't have specific the things that I do want specifically, if I would need like a cystatin C or something, I just
mhm,
order that from, Algo RX, and, I just run that separately.
yeah.
So but I run those more periodically.
Do you lean towards using rhythm just because of the ease?
Yeah. They send it to my house, I just do it, I wake up an hour early before I train clients, throw it on my arm, sit here and have a chat with Miranda for 5 minutes, throw it all together. She drops it off at FedEx, and then they
Yeah,
send me my results. They're so fast. They send me my results, like, 48 hours later.
yeah,
So and then it's nice, it's just tracked. They have, like, graphs and everything on their stuff,
mhm,
so there is some limitations, their testosterone only goes up to 1,500. You have to check, estradiol on your own because they don't use an extra sensitive. So if you're just doing TRT, it's great, but if you're doing, like, any kind of other androgens, it can get skewed, if you're
yeah,
using trenbolone, it'll show you're at, like, 300 like, 100 or something on your E2.
yeah. Yeah, we got a
So there's
phlebotomist down here. She'll come to your house and draw your labs and take it to Quest. It's fucking amazing.
nice.
Like, woke up
Yeah,
the other day, she comes in, stabs me. 5 minutes later, she's out the door, and it's not my problem.
nice. Yeah, that's I mean, that's part of the rhythm thing because it's so convenient. I hate, like, whenever I have to do labs, um, the other way, I'll order them off of Algo, everything that I want, and then I gotta make an appointment with, whatever, and then they're always so busy, because there's only, like,
Mhm.
one Quest Draw Center here in where I live, and so then it's, like, 3 or 4 days or a week later, and then I'm like, all right, now I got to be there at this time, and then I got to sit in the waiting room, and then it's just kind of all the inconvenience. So
Yeah.
like you said, if somebody just comes to your house and fucking knocks it out, like yeah, that would be way more beneficial.
Yeah, it takes us like 3 months to get an appointment out here. So I usually just, well, before I was using the phlebotomist, I'd show up, be the first person there for the walk in. Sometimes it
Yep.
works, sometimes it doesn't. They'd be like, oh, we only have
Yeah.
one person, get fucked, go home. I'm like, all right, well, there's 2 days off training, faster, this and that. It's interrupting everything. It sucks. But
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
phlebotomist is a game changer. Let's go ahead and pull up these labs. We'll
How'd you
start
get
with
set up with the
this.
phlebotomist? You just found her at the gym or something?
Yeah, one of my buddies, he recommended her. He's been working with her for quite a while. So
Dude, I actually am a phlebotomist. I took all my shit. I should do my I should go get my continuing education credits and just start doing that,
I'm
going to
telling you,
people's houses.
that's what Marissa's planning on doing. There's a
Yeah.
lot of money to be made with it.
Yeah, if you're mobile.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's my this I did a urine analysis, which I don't normally do those, but one of my fans, his name's Shin, he came and watched me from Japan. He's a kidney like specialist, MD, and then he's doing research for like a PhD in like kidneys as well. So we've been chatting, and he said like, yeah, run the urine analysis also and your cystatin C. So this was kind of an extra lab that I did in addition to the rhythm, just to kind of like take a look. So, and he said my kidneys look great. When I was on prep, specifically when I was on I was on a decent dose of trenbolone. I was on 700 milligrams of trenbolone a week, and I was like, I did one, and like stuff was kind of like out of whack, but I had done like hit cardio the day before I did the blood lab, and I was on a bunch of tren. So I think that probably because of that, the things kind of normalized, came back to normal. So um, you can see the range there on the albumin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even detectable, really. The less than 0.2, and then creatinine is like in a good range. Cystatin 1.04. I'm not sure. I see people saying like you're supposed to have it under 1, but I don't know. I've been fucking cycling for 20 years, so
What is it in comparison to like? Is this higher than it's used to be?
um I think it's actually down. My cystatin is actually lower. So I don't know if like other factors. I know the cystatin is supposed to be more accurate than the creatinine,
Mm-hmm.
but it's supposed to be kind of like not affected by your weight and stuff, but maybe what you do. I think that it was a little bit higher. I think it was like 1 point. I can't remember, like
Yeah.
1.2 or something like that when I was in prep. But like I said, I had done some kind of like other shit.
Yeah. Mine's usually floating between the zero point 0.6, zero point 0.7 range,
Hmm.
all that.
Well, I'm like a decade older than you too,
Oh,
so
come on now. Yeah, but I'm like, I got the same amount of miles. I beat my body up. Come on.
fair, fair.
Let's pull the other one, get some more stuff.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the kidney stuff that I was just curious about. And then but anyway, the kidney specialist said like, "Hey, I'm looking pretty decent for considering all that I've done to my body." So yeah, this will tell a little bit more.
So what we got here?
Fructosamine is an interesting one. Are you familiar with fructosamine?
Yeah, that's a 2 week blood sugar test. It's
Yeah.
actually, you brought up a long time ago. And I had mostly been using A1C, but it's something I've started to lean more towards. So it's a lot more accurate and telling of the whole tale. Like I had this client, he was peeled to the bone, fasted insulin. I want to say was a 2.5, blood sugar 80 or something like that. He had a HOMA IR of zero point 0.6, but his A1C was staying at like 5.8, 5.9. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to
like
figure it out
pre-diabetic.
why. And it doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to understand it. I end up figuring out like his red blood cell count's always high. So basically that's prolonging the turnover rate and skewing the A1C. So it becomes an inaccurate variable. And we can't use that
So
marker with him.
was it his hemoglobin was high, so it was skewing the results?
Yeah. So basically, in a lot of athletes, our turnover is a lot slower. So instead of being like the average of 90 days, it gets into the 120 to 150 range. So it's
Okay,
going to
that's skewed.
always skew that A1C. And that's why a lot of times you'll see your insulin, your blood sugar, all that looks good. And you pull the home IR, we know you're insulin sensitive, you're peeled to the bone, you respond well to carbs. But that
Yeah,
A1C is always out of range. And you're like, you just scrap it. You just can't use it. So using that
yeah, so
fructosamine would be a good way to check
okay,
another pathway and make sure things are right. But you got to pull all these markers when it comes to blood sugar. They all tell a story together, and if you don't have them,
yeah,
you don't really know what the fuck's going on. Like using the at home A1C test mid push phase, that's fine, but it doesn't work with everybody. Really, insulin and blood sugar are going to tell you a lot, and then you can just check your blood sugar postprandial with meals and understand like how the body's responding. Like you treat
yeah.
the symptom, not the number.
I think checking your blood sugar is probably one of the most powerful ways, just because I use an app or I use a blood sugar monitor that has an app, and literally it like tracks it, and then just becoming familiar with like your fasting, what happens if you go for a walk, you get some GLUT4 transporter, storing some of your blood sugar, like kind of just understanding what is going on with you instead of just looking at like, oh, I did this blood test once every 4 months and it says that I'm like a number. I think that
Yeah.
like I think daily checking and even multiple times a day is probably better about understanding what your blood sugar is really doing.
So when I program insulin, I do a blood glucose log with people.
Yep.
Postprandial fasted. We do a no carb off day, so we track the drop to see the body's response and whatnot, and then fine tune the insulin. But
Mhm.
it's very difficult getting it all like perfectly in tune because most people don't live like a bodybuilding lifestyle. I mean, it doesn't all
Yeah,
revolve around this. So there's all like I didn't have this meal at this time today. I had a different meal. I had my pre workout because it's a Saturday, and
so
there's
it's
a lot
gonna
of
have a
skewing of
different.
variables. So I just tend to undershoot the insulin and we just roll with it.
Yeah, I I don't really have many of my clients on insulin. I think only maybe one guy right now. We like cycle it when he's pushing or something like that. But all my clients, I have them send me I have them do a little bit of like a protocol. They wake up first thing. I have them drink like a big glass of water, 30 ounces of water, and then I have them go for just like walk the dog, 10-minute walk, come back, sit down for 5 minutes, and then take your blood sugar. I feel like that's a more accurate fasted blood sugar than right out of bed,
But
pop it
yeah,
because you're gonna get the dawn effect.
exactly. Yeah, to get rid of the
But
dawn.
and then I just keep the dawn phenomenon. So then I just keep when they send it to me, I have them actually send me like a picture of their scale, a picture of their blood sugar monitor, and then they're checking photos. And then when I'm looking through our WhatsApp chat, I can be like, "Oh, you're trending in a good direction because of what we're doing." I don't have them test too often because like you said, it can get a little bit cumbersome if they're not living a lifestyle like that and they're just kind of like, um, if they're just like a lifestyle client and not like they're doing bodybuilding, but they're not like competitive bodybuilding. It's a
Hmm.
little bit much to have them checking like, so much. If you're going to run insulin with them, then yeah, obviously it's better to have way more data.
Yeah,
But anyway, GGT liver marker, it's pretty good range, 15.4.
it's kind of low, man. You need to work it a little bit more. Liver's a muscle. It's
Yeah,
linked to failure.
dude, when I was in prep, it was a 9.
What
I'm
the
running like a
fuck?
bunch of gear.
You should put more orals in. Start drinking. You'd have got leaner.
Dude, I just can't do orals. Like, really, they just shut down my appetite nearly immediately.
Yeah.
When I'm in the off season, I can like pepper them in. We're gonna look at my cycle that's in a minute, and I have a little bit of Anavar on it. I might swap out a little bit of Anavar for some Anadrol, but I just do it like 2-3 weeks of kind of a mediocre dose, and then pull it out for like a month or two, and then back in for a couple weeks. And my theory on that is just to push some strength while I'm on it, or like maybe front load, and then you know get it out before it suppresses my ability to keep growing from food.
Yeah.
My ApoB is a little bit not in the optimal range, but it's better than it was. I'm kind of almost surprised that my fructosamine was as good as it is because I've been just eating like an asshole since prep. But yeah, the ApoB, same thing, kind of eating like an asshole. You're gonna notice that gets elevated from your triglycerides and your LDLs and stuff.
Yep.
Um, Mine when I was on prep, I think I was at like 110 prior to prep when I was like 262 off season, and then during prep we kept checking, and I think I got down to like 80 or something like that, just from losing all that weight and pulling back my calories and, swapping out, not doing many. I was doing very, really low fats throughout prep. So I think that obviously that's going to have a huge effect on your LDL.
Mm-hmm.
Creatinine, that's not really a normal or a very good marker for us because we're so big. It's going to be skewed pretty bad anyways. So I just always ignore creatinine, but
Yep.
that's actually a lower creatinine than I usually have. I usually have like a 1.8 or something like that.
And you said you trained like the day before with this, or did you take a couple days off?
No, this one I had been off for, I think I'd been off for a couple days.
Gotcha. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of acute inflammation, stuff like that is going to stress the marker, bring it up. We can refer him back to CSAT and C and get a much more accurate assessment. EGFR, you got a lot of people mess this up. If you're African American, there's a separate one for that. You need to pull
Yeah.
that one.
I think
But
the reason for the African American is because they carry more muscle mass. So they're already knowing that. So obviously I'm like on the other end, the continuing on that spectrum, or we're on that spectrum of like more muscle mass. So I mean, I guess if you're using it as a marker that you track the direction of, it's okay. But I don't think that you should just do a cystatin C if you're
yeah,
overly muscled.
yep,
Thyroid stimulating hormone is kind of on the lower, or like on the optimal side,
yeah.
1.86. Sex hormone binding globulin. I am like a chronically low sex hormone binding globulin person. Like it's always like sometimes it's even like single digits.
Mm-hmm. And that's going
And
to
so
correlate with free test.
yeah, and so this is also like we said before on 200 milligrams a week of tests. So that's probably pushing it down as well. Triglycerides is like not in the optimal range. I eat a lot of carbs. You get a lot of de novo lipogenesis, converting those carbs into triglycerides. So that's never, you know, even as good as it is, probably is just a showing how healthy I am.
And we could talk on that a little deeper too. A lot of people you'll see in their peak weeks, they don't use fat,
Hmm.
but so they don't like fat load. We want to saturate the intramuscular triglycerides, get a little bit more roundness and whatnot. And a lot of people skip that part and they consume so much carbs. You get that process happening to actually fill out the intramuscular triglycerides.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you
it
can,
happens in the liver, de novo lipogenesis. You
mm,
take in so many carbs that your glycogen is maxed out, and then once you're maxed out on glycogen, your body's got to do something with it, and that's triglycerides.
so
But
they're doing the same thing that we want to do without knowing what they're doing.
less efficiently. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could just eat some fats and fat load, and then your body would have intramuscular triglycerides, making you look fuller, and
Yep.
then filling up the glycogen as well. Then you look,
Then you're getting the
bursting
whole
full.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So HDL cholesterol, mine's never great. This is like on the lowish side, so probably need to
Yeah.
do more fiber, a little more, maybe some salmon, a couple days a week.
Citrus
Would probably,
bergamot, fish oil, and then you can
yeah.
take triglycerides and HDL, and there's a ratio, a calculation that will actually refer back to insulin sensitivity. So you have another point of reference there that you can correlate
Mhm.
with.
Albumin, kind of in the performance range on that one. So Phil says that's why I'm like so sensitive to androgens. I'm not sure what the pathway is on that one, but he says that like that range on albumin is really good.
Yeah.
I
And
know
you
if
get,
you're above range, that means you could be spilling protein. Was it protein into your urine or blood?
yep. And then
So
another thing to touch on is total cholesterol. This is something I learned through Scooby. A lot of the highest performing athletes, we actually see ranges between 200 to 280. It's a lot more
mhm.
productive. So seeing it outside and above that range as a high performing athlete is not actually a bad thing.
Yeah, I mostly do not really worry about my cholesterols because I do heart tests. I've
Mm-hmm.
done multiple heart tests. Every 5 years, I do um, C-reactive, or not, or a calcium score
Mm-hmm.
with contrast. And every time I'm like, "Hey, how's it looking?" They're like, "You have zero left ventricular hypertrophy. You have zero plaque buildup. You're a zero score on the calcium score. So, if I didn't do that stuff and this stuff was out of range, you might get a little bit freaked out, like, oh, am I laying down plaque? Am I causing issues? But according to the imaging I've done, I'm not. And then I've also done a ultrasound on my, you know, basically on my whole body, but it was a pretty cool test. This guy in Vegas does it. Looks at kind of your heart valves and your carotid artery and all that stuff. So, but it said that he also confirmed what the calcium score said.
Mhm.
Um, Vitamin D says I'm a little bit lower than the performance range, still kind of in the okay range, but vitamin D was an interesting one. So I was doing 5,000, 6,000 a day. And then when I was on prep, I was sun tanning, or not something like at the tanning beds.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I think it activated the vitamin D and it went like off the charts. I was like above 120. It wasn't even registerable on this test. So even if you are taking it, you might not be activating it if you're not getting much sunlight.
So you got estrogen at 23. That's a PR for you, honestly. I think that's pretty high.
That's a little high for me, to be honest. So that might be also why my HDL is on the lower side.
Yeah.
So 23.8, still this is what we said before, the testosterone at 200 milligrams. So I'm
Mhm.
just not a very high converter. I wasn't taking any uh, AIs or anything like that. I never do, actually, because they make me feel like absolute dog shit when I do.
Yeah. Did you get an echo and an angiogram?
I've not gotten a echo. That's one that I want to do, but it's kind of a more expensive one, and I think you
Yeah.
need a referral to get that one.
Yeah.
So I don't really go see a primary doctor. So I'd have to, like, go through the whole, find a cardiologist, go
Yeah.
find a primary doctor, and then you have to refer me to a cardiologist, then you have to refer me to an echo.
You really just got to
So
go in there crying, saying like, "My dad had this issue. My grandpa. We really need to get this checked." You can really play
it's
that card and
hereditary. Yeah.
leverage it. But
Okay.
around the age of like 35 and up, we really got to lean into the, like I said, the echo, the angio, and the calcium score. And obviously, you've done the calcium, but because
Yeah, I agree. The
you can run
the
this lab work, man, and everything looks top notch. But these are going to tell you if you're going to make it or not. And if those come back bad, it's time to fucking tap out for a bit, maybe
yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I think that the echo, the ECG is
Mm,
the kind of the gold standard, because it's going to tell you your ejection fraction. It's going to tell you, kind of the best. The other ones are just like proxies, but they aren't the full picture.
yeah,
But knowing the ejection fraction for your age is kind of supposed to be the best.
yeah,
Which I haven't gotten that yet, but I've used enough other ones. I plan on getting it, basically.
yeah.
um, Hemoglobin, it's always on the highish range. I probably was a little bit dehydrated coming into this, so hydration is a huge factor. I also do the nattokinase, and I need to start doing my fish oils again. I ran out of them, and then I just didn't reorder them. But that'll also thin um, the clotting factors, having omega threes.
Now, are you in the camp of blood dumping or?
No, I'm actually anti blood dumping because my ferritin isn't high, so you can
Mhm,
actually kind of
skew that?
reduce your body's ability to have energy and grow and stuff if you're dumping when you're only high in hemoglobin. If so, my theory on it is, like, my dad lives at almost 8,000 foot elevation, and he has high hemoglobin, but he doesn't have high ferritin or all these other particles
Mhm,
that are in the blood. So, it's okay. Those people live to be, ripe old ages, and they're not dying. So just keeping your clotting factors under control with nattokinase, maybe a baby aspirin or something like that. So
what are you sitting at, like 4,000 FU twice a day for natto?
I have one, I think it's like 12,800. I do it at night. I just do
Okay,
all my supplements at night. So,
gotcha. Yeah, a lot of this comes down to hydration, man. I tell people I like to get in. Honestly, try to get half a gallon in. It's gonna fucking suck, but if you can do it before your labs, you know that that's no longer a variable.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I still use blood dumping, but it's an acute corrective measure. Like, okay, we're fucked. Let's go ahead and start off clean, but then we need to implement the nattokinase, really crank the fish
Yeah.
oil. Maybe the baby aspirin, telmisartan is going to really help with that. We can get that on
Well,
Algorex too.
so there's ways that are there's a time when you should blood dump. If you got polycythemia, if you're high on the like we said, the particles, the hematocrit's high, and then you also look at your ferritin, your platelets, stuff like that. If all that's registering high, then yeah, you need to get some blood out of there because you're increasing your risk factors. But if you just have erythrocytosis, which just basically means extra red blood cells,
Mhm.
it's not healthy to once you get too high, but you can be at the higher end or above the range and be fine. Because probably then it's like more of a hydration issue if you're in that range.
Yeah.
I mean, I start to get a little worried when people get around like 55%. I'm like, all right, we gotta do something about this. We gotta start like being proactive.
Yeah. Track the trends. It really comes down to that. And then based off
Yeah,
the drugs we're using, obviously we trend upwards. Maybe we're not using EQ or whatever it may be. That
yeah.
some people, even with high hematocrit and all that, they can run EQ. You don't see a shift. Every drug has its own profile based on your body's response. You know.
This that I'm out right now is kind of like where I always stay, no matter what I'm on.
Mm,
This was you read this right here. I'm off like everything except for 200 milligrams of test,
mm.
and then if I'm on like all kinds of heavy shit, it's still like 18
Yep.
maybe.
And that's what matters. Are you taking vitamin C?
I eat quite a bit of fruit. I
Mm.
don't do a vitamin C supplement, but I eat quite a bit of fruit.
'Cause we can. A lot of people take that. We can take that out. That's going to help with storing iron. We won't retain as much. Clear it. So that'll help bring down all the blood.
Mhm. Vitamin B12, like I'm always above the range, and it's probably
It's a
I eat a
fucking
shitload of
monster.
I eat a shitload of red meat, and then yeah, I've been drinking these monsters as well.
There's got a retarded amount of B12 in them.
Ton of B12 in those, so I think that's just I don't think it's bad because I think it's a soluble vitamin. You just piss out
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
extra your body doesn't need. CRP, mine's always phenomenal, almost unregisterable from my um, inflammation factors on that.
You always pull HSCRP over CRP?
That's just what they give me on this rhythm health thing.
Yeah, I lean towards the HS. The accuracy of it, basically just it tells you inflammation and really a good risk of heart attack. We want to be optimal is below 1. What I like to see is zero point 0.5 and below. I usually say that 0.2, 0.1. NAD, keeping that in year round is really going to drive that down. Like mid
Mhm.
cycle, 3 grams a year, orals, all that stuff. I still pull a 0.2, highest 0.3. So that makes a big difference.
Kind of an interesting thing. I actually ran my bloods when I was on prep a week out from the Cal, and it was like even better than this. This isn't like necessarily bad, but it was like even better. And while I was on, master on trend, test, all these things like kind of training, getting off being sick, all that stuff. And I think one of the factors was that I was running two things that my body likes. The SLUPP, I was running at 500 per day, and then 500 micrograms per day, and then also Dane got me on the methyl E's. It's a
New
uh,
ethics.
yeah. No, is it New
Uh,
Ethics?
I, I think New Ethic makes it as well.
I got it right here. Vital. No, it's Vital.
Okay.
But yeah, he recommended this, and basically this just is a a methyl donator, methyl cobalamin. I can't pronounce it, but it just donates so that your genetics perform how they're supposed to. Donates those methyl groups so that your genetics perform how they're supposed to. I want to run a homocysteine because I think that's a big one for predicting heart health as well.
Mm,
But not a whole lot of places have it on their tests. I forgot to put it on with that cystatin when I ordered it from Algo.
yeah.
um, yeah, the testosterone is off the charts at 200, apparently. Free testosterone,
Yeah.
almost off their charts. I think their chart goes up to like 520 or something like that. So I was almost unregisterable on that.
That free's tremendous on just 200.
Hmm. There's my LDL,
Yep.
which, like we said, your amount of fats you eat is going to have a big factor on your LDL cholesterol. Hematocrit, okay, we're getting down. EGFR, they calculated that off the cystatin, so that's not going to be accurate. As we saw with the other blood lab that I ran, it was considerably higher.
Mm,
Um, LDL APO ratio, and kind of just some cholesterol ratios down here at the bottom.
yep. That's really all we got
So,
on that.
not a bad spot to start a bulk off-season cycle.
Yeah.
So now let's take a look at the cycle that I kind of planned for myself. Hope people think this is interesting because I mean I would because
People like
a
this
lot of
shit. It's free info, bro. You can't beat it.
yeah, a lot of people like talk about stuff, but they're so vague. A lot of coaches, they don't want to like give away their secret or that they what you're supposed to do in this situation or look for on your blood work. They're trying to, you know, obviously they're trying to protect their income, but like I feel like this is going to be good information for people that are trying to learn and trying to come up, step by step. So,
I mean, we're seeing a open pro bodybuilder cycle. Granted, I think it's all a lie. You're missing a one before each number. I think that'd be more accurate. 1600 tests, 1400 primo, 110 met. That'd be pretty good. Yeah, 125. Yeah, that's you're missing the one, but we'll add that in later.
all right. So this is how I write my cycles for myself and my clients. It just kind of goes week by week by the column. So Um, test, I've actually pulled back a little bit here early in the cycle because typically my test that I do really good at is around 100 to 150 milligrams a day. I'm going to try to elevate as I go. Here we go at like week 12. I jump up to 750. You can see over there. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more out of a little bit less by adding in some of these other things. Primo bowling, I always love primo. Typically, I do quite a bit higher primo, but that's all I do is test and primo. So, like in the past, like when I was in the early in this year in like February, I was running 825 tests, 700 primo, and that was my pretty much whole cycle running up until I started prep. So Ment, I haven't ran in about a decade. I liked it one cycle and then I hated it one cycle. So I'm running it here because, as we just saw in my blood work, on zero AIs, I barely register any estradiol. So I'm trying to get that elevated a little bit, see if it kind of helps with my, utilization of HGH. Maybe helps with my HDL cholesterol. So MENT converts to like a methyl estradiol. So I'm just going to kind of like I'm just experimenting. I haven't ran it in this kind of scenario before, so I just want to see what it does for me in terms of side effects, in terms of and I'll keep running the rhythm blood labs, so we'll be able to kind of track what that means.
So,
Um,
yeah, people are using Met to leverage higher estradiol. What why not leverage higher testosterone? Have you found like that when you get into that higher test, you just feel like shit?
I don't convert any more estradiol.
It just caps out at a certain point for you.
Yeah,
Some
like
people,
I've ran like 1,000, and it'll be like at 30.
Yeah, I've seen
So I
that
mean,
with.
it does go higher, but like if I add in, I've ran like when I was at 825 test and 700 primo, I
Mhm.
was like unregisterable. I was like under 15 on my estradiol. So
Well, maybe just spreading the ratio between primo and test. Obviously, everyone has a ratio where it kind of makes them, get the estradiol where they want it. But
yeah,
having like a more like, let's say a thousand milligrams weekly a test in the relation to 400, 500, maybe 600 primo, instead of having them so close together.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of just trying to stick around that 1500 milligram mark that I like to stay at. It really comes down to, I think anything, I mean, you've trained with me. Anything above 1,000 milligrams, I think I'm able to grow
Hmm.
just as fast as I want to. So I think that if I go too much above that, I'm just throwing in maybe something that'll convert to, more DHT, or just like my body maybe just, doesn't utilize any extra. I'm just throwing in. I mean,
Yeah.
we can say this right now, like when I was on prep, I was running 700 Masteron, 700 Trenbolone, and like 400 test, and I feel like I got the same results as I have on half that on the Trenbolone and Masteron. Like prior, like in my prior cycles, I only ran 350 Tren and 350 Masteron, and I feel like I got equally good results. So I'm almost just like putting in so much more oil injections for like no real benefit for myself.
I think something for you is, we know you can grow from all this just fine. Even if we do up the dose, you may grow faster, but it comes at the cost of your cosmetics. You have some of the cleanest muscle bellies and separation out of all the pros out there. I mean, for your age, your skin and your muscle looks to be 22 years old, and it probably, why risk that to grow slightly faster if you can
Yeah.
actually grow off this? So I know we all get excited and we want to push the dose to super high, and some people just fucking suck like me that have to. But when you don't have to, taking the longer route really does pay off, because you're going to have that separation at the open level that nobody else has.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that like maybe part of why I do, I mean, obviously it's going to be largely genetic, but I never really was able to push any orals. I never was able to push HGH. I've been kind of like a not using very often. Same with insulin. I've not used it very often in my career. So I think maybe just like having a lower threshold of drug use might be additive on top of the genetics to, you know, I have good genetics, so I didn't have a problem with like growing pretty fast anyways, even on just like, a moderate dose. So, and I didn't notice more growth as I went up. Cause I mean, we've all done it. We've all gone to 1,200, 1,500 tests, like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna hit this cycle running.
Yeah.
We've all tried it. And most bodybuilders have been like, I didn't really notice anything different that I did at half this dose.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think some of the thought process I'd assume behind the way we structured this too is coming out the gate with Anavar and Tren as well. We're gonna really drive up that performance strength wise in the gym, protect the joints with the Anavar, the connective tissue and all that. And then you see that gets pulled back around week 3. You just marinate with your injectables. You're
yeah,
meant to as well, but really, a lot of people are against orals in the beginning, or really trying to drive strength, saying the body's not, ready for it. You can really get hurt. Obviously, yes, if you're retarded and you just go in there and Ronnie Coleman the shit. But if you're calculated, I think that strength translates 100% later on in the cycle. And now your 3 plate bench is now 3.5, 4 plates. And if you're calculated with it, that's going to translate to more muscle mass. We just come out the gates, hit it pretty hard, and you can sustain that or even surpass that even once you've removed them. Like personally, I can start off with 100 milligrams of anadrol and get up to that PR, and then it's out. I sustain it or go past it every time. It's not
yeah.
fake, strength, fake muscle. It's like hitting the nitrous in the car. I get that fucking boost, and then we keep going with that.
I kind of like the concept of the front load because, like you just said, you get your strength up, and then by the time week 3 rolls around, this test ISO is kicking in, this primobolan is kicking in, this ment is kind of like sustaining. So the the things that we pulled out, you're obviously maybe not going to be strength jumping at the linear that it was, but you're going to at least maintain that jump that you came up to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's an
and I
exchange of
think,
milligrams, essentially.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, the Anavar, I definitely wanted that for some of the joint stuff. And then the Trenbolone, I've never ran it at this low dose. I kind of just wanted to experiment with it and see if I got some, you know, corticosteroid modulation from it. You know, maybe a little bit of leaning out as I'm kind of going up on these things a little bit, coming off of not doing anything. So maybe I can like get a little bit tighter this first couple weeks. And then the Macuna prurines and the P5P, those are just things that I have in there to kind of like circumvent any kind of undesirable things from the Trenbolone and Ment. Those can kind of affect the dopamine pathway. So the Macuna prurines is like an L-dopa precursor, and the P5P as well modulates the that dopamine um, pathway. Instead of using cabergoline,
Mm-hmm.
these are just kind of like natural ways to do it. And I did them when I was on prep, and I really was like had a fucking good lid on it on my Trenbolone, even at 700. I had a good lid on like not getting irritable, not overreacting about things. So I really personally liked it. My sexual health was like great. I didn't have any real ED issues on Trenbolone, which I typically will have. I'll have super high like desire, but I won't have like the ability to perform the way I
That's the
want
fucking
to.
worst, bro. You're horny as hell and your dick don't work.
Yeah. So
How do I get this demon out of me? You're just beating off a
so
flaccid penis. Like, fuck.
so yeah, I didn't even have crazy like definitely was elevated a little bit, but I was not elevated to the point that I've, had an issue with in the past. So
I can definitely say your mood and temperament surprised me, man. A week out, meeting up with you, I've seen you in the off season more aggressive and short tempered versus you at a week out, and this essentially is like almost doing your first prep. You haven't competed in 8 years, so it's foreign territory. You handled that extremely well. So I would say these hold a lot of value that people aren't really implementing.
yeah, I I mean I didn't really know about them before, and I did this podcast with Leo, and then he was talking about them, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll look into them, and then I did, and then I feel like they're like a game changer for me. Maybe not for everybody, but for me, instead of having to use cabergoline, like these were a game changer.
Yeah. So
Um,
we going
yes,
pharma or generic with HGH?
generic. I can't afford pharma.
Tell me about it, bro.
Yeah, Serostim is so expensive right now.
What did I want to say we used Genotropin back in the day. That was Pfizer when I was down there
Yeah,
training with you. Yeah, that
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think it's fucking better. I really do. Like that shit. I woke up one morning, I was like, holy fuck, I have shoulders.
Yeah, those sources come and go, and that source went, and I haven't had any kind of. I have a good source for Serostim right now, but literally it would cost to run this. God, it would be like $900 a month to run my HGH
Yeah.
if I did that at this dose. So yeah, it's just out of my. It's just. I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, I pretty much built my whole career on like very low amounts of HGH. I would use, like a couple kits here and there for like a month, 2 months, and then I would not use it for 2 years, and then I would use like a kit here or there, and then I would like not use it for another year. So I would say I'm not built on that, HGH sarcoplasmic insulin stuff. So I think you can get very big. Personally, I can get very big on food and training and just regular androgens.
What's your when do you typically pin it? Like what's your thought process with all that? And how do you go about that with your clients?
HGH, I like before bed.
Mm,
I know there's kind of a theory like you're making less, but like probably at 40 years old, I'm making maybe like 1 IU if I'm lucky. So I'm putting in 400% more than I would be making anyways.
Yep.
And I like it before bed because it makes me it maybe not just the HGH, but it makes you sleep, I feel like, deeper, and it makes you fall asleep faster. So that in itself, I think, is a benefit outside of the HGH's effects. I think that it's like just a benefit of better recovery, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I like it at that time. Also, during the day, I had done it in the morning, years ago, and when I was in college, and I'm like sitting in school, I'm like, fuck, I can't. I'd go home at like 10 o'clock after my first class, and I'd get right back in bed, and I would just like zonk out. So I think that, if you got to be on your shit during the day, like most people, that it can be inhibited to your lifestyle.
So I find it's very person to person dependent. A lot of people, if you, I trial it in two different ways typically to see the response. Obviously, the nighttime big bolus dose. If it's 5 IU's or above, uh, we might
Split it.
split it. But yeah, if it's not above 5 IU's, I'm actually going to put it pre workout because I don't want to disrupt the natural release. Depending on age, if we get a 40+ year old, we can put it at night because, like you said, there's not shit happening anyways. But some people, it impairs their sleep. It actually makes it worse. So then I like to move it to 2 hours pre-workout. If typically we're using insulin in conjunction with it, especially on my people built like me, skinny, they don't have a lot of roundness. You're going to see that roundness in the gym, and that's whenever you look good, you're going to train better. And
Yeah.
then so it's peaking right when we're coming into the gym. We've used insulin to help drive down the blood sugar effect and all that, but I
There's
like to.
something definitely to be said about using gear to look good while you're on gear. Like, people will be like, "Oh, don't use orals, you just lose whatever as soon as you come off." You're like, "Yeah, but while I'm on it, I feel fucking great."
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you feel
So,
good in the mirror, man, you're gonna train harder. You're gonna feel
yeah.
better. Everything in life is better. So sometimes that's enough of a reason.
Yeah. So definitely I've done it before, obviously working with Phil, he's had me do a few different protocols, and the pre-workout and split dose is
Yeah,
one of them that he actually likes doing the middle of the night dose.
yeah.
We
It's
talked
it's
about
middle of
that.
the night in the morning before fasted cardio, and then 2 hours pre workout. You got
Yeah.
your fucking
I
needle sitting there on the bedside. I'm like, I'll do that, but I know most of my people won't be doing that. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
actually there's actually something right there that you just said that it could be important. So depending what you're using HGH for, I mean, it does have like a long-term effect, with your IGF-1 and stuff. But if you are using it for fat loss, using it a couple hours before, like waking up at maybe 3 a.m., pinning it, and then it's in your system to be pulling fatty acids out of your stores while you're doing your fasted cardio, and then you're using those fatty acids for the low intensity. So you could have a
The lipolysis
reason to be
effect.
taking it more so in the middle of the night for more fat loss. I've always never really had a huge amount of fat, so then I'm only wanting muscle building from it personally.
Yeah, I think in reality, man, get it in where it fits in. If you can get it in you every day, you're winning.
Yeah, and that's actually something I talked with Andrew Barry about a while back. Like, we were talking about the nuances of like, oh, this or that, and I'm like, the biggest thing I found with taking gear and taking anything, first, get it inside your body, and you'll probably get about 90% the way there, 95% the way there. You start doing this like minutia of timing and stuff, and you maybe add 2, 3, 4, 5% extra. But like the most of it is like just get it in on a regular interval is going to be the most important thing.
Do you do your shots at night too?
Yeah, I like to do them during the day, but usually when I wake up, I'm just like, "Oh, I gotta jet out. I gotta,
Yeah.
eat this meal, train this client." So like doing my shots is kind of like, it takes me a few minutes to like maybe load some peptides, reconstitute the GH, load my shots, and then I'm doing the backloading thing. So I'm like, pull it all out of this. It's like just a bit of a process. Maybe
Yeah.
takes me
It's very
15,
tedious.
20 minutes, and I shoot every day. So I just always found that before bed was like the best with my schedule, but I do think there is something to like it messing up your sleep a little bit. So I think in the morning would be best, but whatever's with your schedule, I think is okay.
Yeah, whenever we have tren, that's the one time I'm heavy on. We need to do it in the morning. We're not going to be
Yeah.
injecting tren before bed. That is not going to make you feel better during your sleep. But outside of that, I actually typically do all my shots at night, just because. Yeah, in the morning I don't want to wake up and fucking stab myself. It's not very appealing. But at night, I'm already tired from the day or worn out. It's like, what's one more fucking thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Load up the fucking turkey baster and just go to town.
Yeah. The only thing the timing definitely on is I like to do pre-workout on orals, maybe 2 hours pre-workout, doesn't
Yeah,
matter which one.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of one thing that I like to do the timing on. Obviously, insulin you have to do timing on.
What? Right before bed,
Um,
trust me, you'll sleep way better.
yeah. So down here on the bottom, we get to the bottom, Humalog, and then LB means legs and back days. I'm not using it every day.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna be taking that with my pre-workout meal. I'm eating that about 2 hours prior to my training, just to help shuttle the glucose a little bit better.
And something to touch on is there's not a protocol to insulin. It's people see 5 IUs. All right, I'm gonna take 5 IUs. It's in correlation with your nutrition, and you're getting that dose based on that. You can't just take 5 IUs all the fucking time. You got to figure it out in relation to the carbs.
I've worked up to 5 IUs because like used to be I would take like 2 IUs and I would have a blood sugar crash.
Are you doing that IM or sub Q?
I am.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I do
also
everything I am. I do not like sub Q at all. People talk about doing HGH, doing peptides, this and that. I do everything intramuscular.
with insulin, we have to be cognizant of where we're pinning it and its transit time. So obviously, IM is faster than sub Q, but also what muscle we put it in. So like if you put it in a muscle that's not moving much, it's not going to transit as fast. But you put it in your shoulder, your arm's moving a lot. It's going to uptake a lot quicker. So you need to be careful with that.
I usually shoot for my bicep just because it's easy to reach. I usually go with my outer head of my
Yeah.
biceps.
When I was in the military, I'm doing it in my office. I shouldn't even be saying this, but I didn't want to have to get up and go to the bathroom every time I was using it. So I'd be shooting my forearms right there, and you just click, click, click.
Oh man, that muscle's so like
just
small.
just
Maybe I'll
anywhere.
shoot it from the backside.
Because I'm like, if I can shoot my forearm, my hands moving, I'm getting that transit time quicker. Because I'm using, so I like to use Novolin R. The reason
Okay.
being,
Little more.
we don't have to worry about it, the degradation of it. So like when you get Humalog, most people aren't prescribed it. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know how long it's been in the heat, shooken up, X, Y, and Z. We know there's a consistency. Walmart has a standard, so it's always the same thing. We shoot it IM, we shoot it in a muscle that moves a lot. We're gonna get nearly the same onset, peak, and duration as
Yeah.
Humalog. And then on top of that, it's $34 for a box of pens, dude. You can't beat that. So you can take like 200 units a day, and it's nothing.
That's actually pretty a good concept. I never thought about the degradation, and then half the time maybe you're using some expired insulin anyways or something like that if it's Humalog. So
Exactly. I actually started to sway Phil on that, but then we got in an argument about its peak onset and duration aren't the same as Humalog. He's like, I've done it in both and this and that. And I'm like, maybe, but I when I shoot it intramuscular, it gives me the exact same thing as when I use
mhm.
Humalog.
I mean, definitely there's something to be said about metabolism. I mean, you metabolize things faster. So, like, say somebody that's a diabetic and they're not very good insulin sensitivity, they might be using that Humulin R very slow. Might be an 8 hour, like you said, but like if you have a fast metabolism, you're pushing things through twice as fast as them. Maybe it's half the time.
Yeah, but that's based on the individual. But
Yeah.
if you compare sub Q Humalog, Novolog, any log compared to Rapid, and you do IM, it's the same peak onset and duration. And then feels like it's not. And I'm like, well, the literature says it is. And you have to assume they use a constant, meaning let's just say they did this test on one person and tested the duration, all that on both. It's the
Mhm.
same time. It's just, I think he just didn't want to agree with me on it partially, but hey, that's Phil. Love
I
him.
mean, I haven't ever really messed around with R, so you might have your anecdotal experience with it that you understand it at a way higher level than I
Yeah.
do.
It's what I use with
So
all my clients too, because we always hear the horror story of people taking too much insulin. They don't understand how to load like an insulin pen with it. Versus you,
yeah,
if you just go to Walmart, you get the actual pen, dude. You tell them a number, you can't fuck that up. You click it out to 5, and it's 5.
true,
It's
true.
always 5.
I
But
actually did that once. I did.
would you take 50 units?
No, I was doing those genotroping kits, and I had the little pen reloads, and so I was
Mm.
sticking an insulin syringe in it to load to take that, and I was taking 3 units. So obviously it was to like the 30
Yeah, yeah,
units, and then I was also using insulin, a Humalog, but it was in like a similar looking vial. Like literally, it was like not a vial, but like the pen reload.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was just a little bit bigger. And I was just chatting with someone. I was like loading it, and I did it. I realized immediately, as literally as soon as I pinned it, I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm holding the wrong one." And I literally just like I mixed up 100 grams of carbs in like a shake, and I just like pounded it down, and then we went to McDonald's, and I got some apple pies and a Big Mac and stuff.
Yeah, that
So
do happen.
yeah, so 30 units isn't too crazy, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a lot for me because I'm very insulin sensitive. So
What
okay, let's fast forward. What
what week are you currently on?
one? I just
Okay.
started.
Okay, got you.
Okay, so fast forwarding to week 10, things kind of like change up a little bit. I'm trying to push size here early, and then I've never taken retatrutide before, so I want to experiment with it just so I have some personal experience. And then kind of at the end of this, I'm gonna, change up my compounds. Gonna run DHB, which I think is that kind of like similar-ish to a primobolan, like a
The
on the
DHB,
effect.
no, it's short ester EQ essentially.
Yeah, but okay. Well, but EQ is called poor man's primo, so it's kind of a similar-ish feel, right? Your
Yeah,
outcome is similar.
I've never ran it. I don't really fuck with the exotics to be honest with you. What
Yeah.
works is what works. You had to run it with a client as well. Some people will tolerate it well. Other people it gives them a tremendous amount of pip, and that's very common. So
Uh-huh.
it's hard to sell something that is going to give you a lot of fucking pip.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, having not I did use it once and it kind of fucked up my blood labs, but I was using 350 a week and I wasn't like I didn't take them prior. So there was, I'm kind of like running it as more of an experiment in this
Yeah,
cycle. Experimenting with, the retatrutide and that. So this is kind of set up as like a little bit of a cut, with the DHB, the trenbolone, and the retatrutide. So kind of try to like lean up, pull in my insulin sensitivity toward the end here, yeah, upping the doses on the testosterone because I'm lowering the doses on the other androgens.
mm.
So you see the sprinkling in the Anavar again just to keep pushing those strength numbers up and helping with the tendon recovery.
Yeah.
A
So
little, little,
you're go ahead.
what, little bit of clenbuterol there for a few weeks.
I see you start at 1 milligram of Retta. You said it's your first time running it.
Hmm.
I would push back to a half a milligram. It affects
Okay,
everyone so differently. Once it's in, it's fucking in. You know, it's a lot better to start low and titrate it up. And
true.
you're primarily using it for the glucagon insulin effects, not for the appetite suppressant. I'd assume you already struggle with
Correct.
pushing mass amounts of food, so you can get that at that half milligram and
Okay.
sometimes even less. Like everyone responds differently, but you take too much, it's not fun. Are you gonna do that 2 or 3 times a week?
I'm just gonna do 1 milligram a week.
Yeah, but are you gonna split the dose? Is what I'm saying.
Since it's so low, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I could split it. I typically like to use it uh multiple times, at least twice a week with my clients. So,
Yeah,
I might split it actually now that we're talking about it.
yeah, 2 to 3 times a week before bed is the way I like to go about it.
Yeah, I'll
A
do
lot,
that
a
then.
lot of people are shifting down from 7 days a week down to just twice a week and saying they're getting better response, less
Mhm.
side effects. You want more of that peak and trough with it, I guess. I'm not. I've always done 3 times, but it fucking works. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know people that they just run it once a week and they get like a crazy pound of no appetite, and then by the end of the week they're kind of like starting to wear off by day 6.
Yeah,
So I think keeping it in at least twice a week is going to be a little bit more optimal.
yeah. So we
Um,
got 16 weeks here. Is that a hard cut for you? Meaning, like at 16 you tap out, or do you go until the body?
I think I'm going to run this as just a cycle, and then I'm going to keep kind of do as my experiment and stuff, and then cycle off. What'll that be? So we're in August right now, September, October, November, December, and then I think I'll probably want a little bit of a break, January, February, and then maybe hop on like a prep cycle running into uh March, April, May, and then in
That's the
May,
cow.
yeah. So I'm planning on doing. I'd like to do New York, Pittsburgh, Cal, maybe Reno. So like just all 4 of those shows in a run.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I think I'll probably take a break after this just because of the schedule. I know even if I'm growing well, I don't want to burn out when I'm mid prep. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So and that can happen to me. I can get burnout. So I think that I probably will run this 16 and then run into a just come back down to 200 of test, and then maybe keep in some HGH at that time, and then cycle back up after a little bit of a break.
Yeah. I was looking to do the cow this year, but it's just not going to line up. I'm about to start my next growth phase end of this month. That could be between 20, maybe 26 weeks. Who knows? I scheduled out my hernia surgery for 26 weeks away from the start of my growth phase. So that way I just know I have all the time I need to do it. Bro,
Mhm.
I went in there to get this hernia surgery consultation, and they're like, yeah, you're going to need to be 30% BMI. I'm like, well,
30% BMI
I was like,
or 30 BMI.
yeah, 30 BMI. And I'm like, well, what weight
I'm
is
like
that?
38 right
Bro,
now.
yeah, I'm 39, and I'm like, okay, so 30 BMI for me is 233 pounds. I'm like, so I need to start
There's no way.
DMP, clean. I need to hop on Retta and just stop training.
Wait, why? What's the reasoning behind that?
Because it's BMI is based on fucking fat ass America, and they don't want you to be too fat. I talked to my doctor afterwards, and obviously I'm muscular, so this does not apply. So they wrote me a waiver for it. I was like, "There's no fucking way I could be 233 pounds. I just have to die and rot in a fucking casket for a couple months
No,
before that'll
you're like
happen."
6'2". Like if you were like anemic, I mean, even you still would be 233 pounds. Like,
My last prep, the lowest I got down to was 227. And
yeah,
I'm like 10 times fucking bigger. I'm like,
yeah.
but
Let
like,
here,
so
take down the cycle so we can just chat.
yeah. Where you go?
Let's maybe next episode we'll just chat about your cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Nah.
can get interested in like different methods, maybe on different people. I know yours will be a little more exciting than mine. Mine's kind of like exotic, I feel like, but I'm running some like experiments.
Yeah, basically, we're just gonna add a 2 in front of everything you just put. I think 2,600 milligrams a test.
I'll be
24.
interested to see your compounds and stuff, but let's not give it away.
Yeah,
You can write it out and we can talk about it like we just did. I think it's kind of a good to go through each like your theory on each reason of what you're doing and how much and stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely.
but cool, man. I think we're good. You want to wrap it?
Yeah, I think no questions this week. We didn't post anything.
Yeah.
This is what an open pro cycle actually looks like. I know it's hard to believe because we're out here running way more than him half the time and we look like shit, but there's people that are built for this sport. You have to accept it. I mean, me training with him firsthand, I could do everything right and watch him fuck up everything else and still watch him grow circles around me. It's just the
I mean,
reality.
you haven't done bad. You have definitely learned from not having like the most stellar genetics taught you a lot more than it had to teach me. Cause like I didn't know what worked. Everything did,
Yeah.
But you're like, well, that doesn't work. I'm gonna start, progressively overloading. Well, that worked. Well, now I'm gonna need to start doing my logbook. Well, that worked. Well, now I'm gonna start doing chicken shakes, and
Mhm.
now I'm gonna start. The calories got to be up. The dosage has got to be like here for me.
Mhm.
So you were able to troubleshoot a
It's
lot
just
of.
some people really think it's all drugs, and they have to accept that some people are born Priuses and some people are born Lamborghinis, and you
Yeah,
can put rims on the Prius and put a different motor in there, but it's never going to be a Lamborghini, man. You got to play the cards you're dealt and don't blame the drugs.
yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're still here. So that was my off-season pro cycle. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll do Brian. Maybe we'll have another guest. So, anyways, thanks, Brian.
yep. Later.